Gobble, gobble. You know what time of the year it is.
It's time to feature our great big turkey and show you a great big episode of You Gotta See This.
Gobble, gobble. You know, to me, Thanksgiving is the greatest of all holidays, mostly because it kicks off the entire holiday season.
It really does.
And the day after Thanksgiving in Peoria, that's a big deal because it's the Santa Claus Parade.
The Santa Claus Parade is the longest running Christmas parade in the country, and we have it right here in Peoria. It's very cool. Some of those floats have been around for over 100 years, and we're going to check in on them and see how they're getting all festooned up for the holidays.
We've got a lot of Thanksgiving stories tonight. 8-Track Time Machine, going to go to the silver screen to talk about the greatest ever Thanksgiving movies. You probably don't think there's a lot of them, and they're not, but we've rounded them all up for you. We're also going to have a recipe for a special Thanksgiving cocktail.
Delicious.
And also, it is delicious. And also a mocktail version, in case you don't want any of the hard stuff.
But let's start it off the right way, where we're talking about true Thanksgiving and gratitude. Check it out.
This Thanksgiving, Jerron Brown is grateful for the Southside Mission more than ever. When he was a boy, the mission helped when his family was homeless. As he grew, he took part in the mission's education and mentorship programs. As a teen, he served as a volunteer leader. Now, as a 20-year-old, he is on mission staff, helping kids facing the same challenges he once did.
One of my biggest dreams and goals in life is to impact the world. And when you impact the world, you have to impact the future, and the kids is where it begins.
The Southside Mission is a faith-based social service agency that has served Peoria for almost 100 years. When Jerron was 7, he and his mom lost their South Peoria home. So they headed to the mission, which at the time ran a shelter for women and children.
When I first got here, it was kind of a new experience. It was scary, living with a bunch of strangers, but I was like kind of the youngest boy here, so I had like 30 moms at one point, so I got used to it. It got comfortable a little bit.
Jerron would attend school during the day, then take part in the mission's after-school programs, which, then as now, include homework help, life skills, and Bible study. Plus, the mission has always been a safe space.
The Southside Mission is based at the 61605 zip code. It's one of the poorest zip codes in America, and it's very much violent and gang tolerated, I should say. So when you come here, it keeps you out the streets. It gives you something to look forward to. It gives you new experiences, and it's less time out there and more time in here.
Even after Jerron and his mom got on their feet and moved out of the shelter, he kept coming to the mission for the after-school programs and summer activities. As a teen, he became a volunteer and worked with younger kids. Years later, he thinks his most important mission lessons came from the Bible.
It's the biggest thing here is what we stand for. It's in our faith statement. It's God helping us build our community back up. He's the big thing that leads us and helps us and guides us through the way.
After graduating high school, Jerron considered going to college. But the more he pondered and prayed about his future, he felt moved to apply for a job at the Southside Mission.
And it just felt right. It felt like a place I needed to be.
He now serves as youth ministry assistant, mentoring and loving more than 100 kids who participate in mission programs. His boss, Chris Kewington, says kids look up to Jerron, partly because of his youthfulness, but also because he has the same Southside background.
They can relate to him, they respect him, but they don't have that, there's not that intimidation factor sometimes that comes with being an educator, especially a male educator with young children. They feel more comfortable with him. I believe they can confide in him more easily.
Further, Kewington is grateful for Jerron as a walking, talking testimony to the capabilities of mission programs.
You get to see exactly what pouring into a youth can become, especially the fact that he's feeding back in. Not only is he successful, he's actually come and given back directly.
With his mission kids, Jerron shares lots of lessons, but his biggest message is the same one he learned as a boy during Bible classes at the mission.
Trust in God. is trust in God, and He'll lead you the right way. He'll tell you everything you need to know in life.
By following that advice, Jerron Brown has found not just a job, but a calling. For that, he is especially thankful this Thanksgiving.
It's a place that actually stands for what they speak about, like building up the community is the biggest one, helping people when they need it, and just reaching out and becoming a good foundation for the Southside.
This is a story about a special friendship. Meet Parker and Elliot. They're both 2 years old and both have been diagnosed with Down syndrome. They met about a year ago at their weekly physical therapy session, but it's more of a play date.
So they've just kind of grown a bond. They love seeing each other and saying hi and giving kisses.
The weekly sessions are held at 5 Points, Washington, under the supervision of OSF Healthcare. The experience has been beautiful, not just for Elliot and Parker, but everyone around them.
It's absolutely wonderful for him to be in communication and interacting with just a kid of his own age. It doesn't have to be somebody that has the same diagnosis or a diagnosis at all. And they definitely feed off of each other, which is nice, as well as being in the community with another parent. So that way we see that we're not the only ones going through the attitude that comes with that extra chromosome, because that's all it is. It's pure spice.
The physical therapy is helping their development. Lately, they've been working a lot on walking.
We also work on moving between positions, so that's why climbing on the slide ladder can help them get some strength in their legs and it moves between positions, or sometimes on the swing we can get some sensory experience, get them kind of alerted. Kids with Down syndrome tend to be a little more on the lower muscle tone side, so if we can bounce them on a ball or get them excited, then that helps alert them a little bit so they can do more things gross motor.
The physical therapist says the two toddlers see their session as their weekly play date. Their special bond helps their physical therapy.
They really think that the other one is their best friend, or maybe they're actually dating, if 2-year-olds can date. But because they come and they're so excited to see each other, and it's actually more motivating. We can get them to do more when they're both here.
Overall, the moms see these sessions helping all areas of the young people's lives and making special friends out of Parker and Elliot.
Liking to say hi to each other and just seeing that social aspect of it as well. Super easy. I mean, it's literally like she's just playing, so she loves it most of the time. But it's just kind of a fun way to watch her play and grow.
In Peoria, the day after Thanksgiving brings the rich local tradition of the Santa Claus Parade.
Ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Families, generations come with their kids, their grandkids every year to the parade. It's just really cool.
And it's really old. Peoria claims the longest-running Yuletide procession in the country, going way back to 1887. Santa Claus probably knows that, but not everyone else does, not even in Peoria.
They are surprised. Even people who live here don't realize that we've had this parade for so many years.
And some of those floats, they're almost as old as the parade itself.
This is our other float that's been around since the beginning of the parade when it was downtown, and it's the Old Woman's Shoe.
Keeping them going takes a lot of work by Barnes and other volunteers with Peoria area community events. The group stores, maintains, and creates floats in a workshop, kind of like Santa's workshop, in Peoria's North Pole, or make that the North Valley. Those floats make for a long parade with lots of participants.
Usually we have about anywhere from 80 to 100 bands, walking units, and our floats, so there's a good variety.
The original lineup didn't include St. Nick, or much mention of Christmas. In fact, the first parade in December 1887 was on the Illinois River. A procession of boats ventured down from Chillicothe to the north edge of Peoria to celebrate the start of construction of the Upper Free Bridge, the modern site of the McCluggage Bridge. The next December, business owners and homeowners marched from downtown to the bridge to celebrate its opening. Those were the beginnings of what would become the Santa Claus Parade, which moved to downtown, where generations ago everyone came to shop.
And that was why it was all started, was for the department stores to kick off their holiday season. They would have their displays in the store with their Santa would come through the parade and then go to their store. So that was the welcoming of Santa Claus.
In the early 1900s, shipper and block Santa would thunder into Peoria by train, stopping at the Rock Island Depot. From there, a horse-drawn coach would take him to the store. There, old Kris Kringle would make a dramatic entrance.
And then he would walk up, sometimes their fire escape, to the Christmas land that they had inside the store.
Over the ensuing decades, the parade grew in size and popularity. By the 1950s, as many as 50,000 people would jam along the parade route, and the parade long continued to be a draw for retailers downtown. These days, retailers no longer have much of a presence downtown, but the parade continues in popularity.
So Pace manages 22 floats, and our newest float last year was Whoville, and then this year we're redoing a circus wagon. So we had a circus wagon for many years, and it had a gorilla in it, and we decided to take it out and redo it and show off the wheels. That was a big thing with circus wagons, is the fancy wheels.
Most impressive might be two floats that have been with the parade for more than 130 years. One is a Conestoga wagon, which became part of the parade as a matter of practicality.
You know, I think a lot of it was that it was easy to get. I mean, it was an easy float. There was one in the community, someone donated it, and then it's been used ever since. So we've painted it and kept it up.
The other old-timer is the Old Woman in a Shoe, which way back when was super popular with the kiddies.
I know they had a lot of Mother Goose. They had a lot of those stories, characters in the parade back in the day. So I think that was just it. It was a nursery rhyme.
It takes a lot of toil to maintain these old floats, as well as make new ones. But the work is worth it come the day of the parade.
We like the creating of the floats. We like building the floats. That's our favorite thing. And then the day of, it's fun to see the kids and walk down the parade and see their faces.
It's said that when one door closes, another one often opens. That's kind of what happened to Pierre Daoud, except in his case, the door closed more than 100 times. After a layoff early this year, he applied for more than 100 jobs, all to no avail. But where employers said no, his dream said yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ever since I was about 6-7 years old, I watched my mom cook and just helped her all the time and just learned from her.
A lifelong foodie and at-home cook, the 50-year-old decided to turn his passion into a new career. So he and wife Scarlett invested their life savings into a new restaurant in Metamora, Terroir 317, Your Home Kitchen.
It's about the taste. It's about having that oomph, I guess, or that taste for, and I appreciate the food coming together and giving you that taste when you taste it. Oh, that tastes very well.
In his homeland of Lebanon, Pierre learned cooking not just from his mom, but also an uncle who ran a restaurant.
First things I actually remember doing with him was donuts. And I just loved baking and started baking and baking.
Though skilled in the kitchen, in the classroom he studied business and became a program manager. At age 29, he came to America and Peoria, joining the corporate world. He met and married Scarlett, an electrical engineer who was born in Peoria but is 100% Lebanese. They now live in East Peoria, raising 2 teen sons. At home, meals are a centerpiece of family life, as with many Lebanese households.
Well, there's just this love of life, and it all happens around the table. It's just something we grew up with, and the whole culture is like that. The first thing they do is, welcome, come on in, let me feed you. Whatever it is, whether it's dessert or a drink or, food, stay, we'll make something and eat.
At home, the couple would enjoy experimenting with recipes. Early this year, Pierre got laid off. So, while looking for work, he began spending more and more free time in the kitchen.
So he was cooking up a storm, but at the same time applying for different jobs. He applied to over 100 jobs, had a handful of interviews. Nothing was working, but while he was cooking up all this food, we started to think about, well, how can he channel this?
They decided to bank on Pierre's passion for cooking. In April, they found a spot in Metamora where they invested their life savings into their Lebanese eatery. For a name, they turned to prayer.
Terroir 317, Your Home Kitchen. So Again, that kind of came to us inspirationally. My husband got the word terroir and I got the number 317. Terroir means land, specifically the land where the root of the vine, the vineyard, is planted. And then 317 is a reference to Scripture, Exodus 3:17, where God promises the Israelites to take them out of Egypt and into the promised land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And so that's kind of where our logo came together.
The effort is a family affair. Pierre runs the kitchen. Scarlett, a part-time college instructor, helps with salads and other foodstuffs. Sons Raphael and Ryan pitch in at the order counter. In Metamora, which has few restaurants, let alone Lebanese cuisine, customers are learning to appreciate a new kind of cooking.
It's just the flavor will tell them that this is true Mediterranean ethnic food. It just will tell them right away, oh wow, this is really ethnic, it's different. It's nothing that I've had before.
A favorite so far has been the chicken shawarma sandwich, which is kind of like a gyro sandwich with a Lebanese twist.
Because a lot of people ask me, is it spicy? I'm like, no, it's actually flavorful. It's full of seasoning. I think some of our staple seasoning in most of the food is cinnamon, allspice.
Chris Rutherford, president of the Metamora Area Business Association, calls the eatery a welcome addition to town. He has enjoyed sampling the Lebanese dishes while broadening his cultural horizons.
I've never had a falafel before, and the falafel, I've had it several times already, and it's wonderful.
In fact, he invited his business group to Terroir for a lunch meeting. That makes sense to Pierre and Scarlett, who believe Lebanese cuisine makes for an ideal bonding experience.
There's something about a conversation around the table. It's like they bring you in as part of the family. You become part of the family. And even our boys, you know, we grew up every night. We have dinner together, we cook, and it's just this family setting, and friends come in and you just feel like you're all one big family.
Gobble gobble and welcome to Holiday Festive, Worth Township, Illinois, and my garage for another episode of 8-Track Time Machine. Now, normally this is where we take you to the songs and stories of the 8-Track era, and that involves the crack team with 8-Track Time Machine working 24/7 on that 8-track player back there. And we were going at it the other night, doing what we do for this show, and someone said, you know what? How come there are not many Thanksgiving movies? There's lots of Christmas movies, but not a lot of Thanksgiving movies. In fact, are there any really? And so we decided to look into it. So we pulled out the VCR and all our VHSs, and we got together a collection for you right now. So 8-Track Time Machine proudly presents the greatest Thanksgiving movies of all time. Now, Miracle on 34th Street debuted in 1947, and it's been a Christmas classic ever since. However, what you might forget is the movie opens on Thanksgiving Day at the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. And if you recall, Kris Kringle happens across an inebriated Santa Claus, so Kris Kringle has to take his place in the parade. The rest of the movie, well, you remember this part. Kris Kringle, Santa Claus, spends his time trying to convince a little girl and her mom that Santa is real.
Well, I'm sorry to disagree with you, Mrs. Walker, but not only is there such a person, but here I am to prove it.
No, you misunderstand. I want you to tell her the truth.
Spoiler alert, Santa's real. Let's turn to 1979 and Rocky II. Now, the original Rocky, it spent a lot of time on Thanksgiving. If you remember the first part of that movie, that Rocky and his new girlfriend Adrian have a date for Thanksgiving night, but Paulie ruins it by getting drunk and real nasty, okay? So, you know what happens in that movie. There's a fight on New Year's Day, 1976, between Rocky and Apollo Creed, and Apollo barely beats him, right? So we move to the sequel, Rocky II, and this moves forward to later in the year, where there's going to be a rematch. And guess who wins?
Yo, Adrian! I did it!
And when was that rematch? Thanksgiving night. Released in 1992, Scent of a Woman takes a lot of twists and turns. But at its core, there's a prep student who agrees to take care of Frank, a retired Army colonel who is hard-bitten, bitter, angry, blind, and prone to outbursts, take care of him over the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. And for that role as Frank, Al Pacino won an Oscar that year, mostly for doing this sort of thing.
I won a Young American Merit Scholarship.
Hoo-ah!
Now, Thanksgiving gatherings can get really obnoxious and difficult, especially when family's involved, right? So I say, do what Frank did. Give out a little hoo-ha whenever someone gets in your face, and that'll quiet them down. It worked for Frank, it'll work for you. What would our Thanksgiving movie list be without the 1987 classic Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? It's a pretty simple storyline. John Candy, Steve Martin get together on this wayward trip, and they try to get along, and a lot of craziness happens. Now, I forget a lot of the details, but you can't forget this scene.
Where's your other hand? Between two pillows. Those aren't pillows.
Remember that scene come Thanksgiving. Your holiday might get a little hairy, but it probably won't get that weird. Happy Thanksgiving. Well, it's Thanksgiving time, so here we are at W.E. Sullivan's in Peoria Heights with proprietor Billy Blosick. Thanks for joining us.
No problem.
Now, Thanksgiving time, obviously, it's when we spend a lot of time with our folks, our family, our friends, and we have a lot of food and drink and enjoy around the table. But I find what's interesting is Thanksgiving gets kind of slighted in terms of cocktails, right?
Oh yeah, there's not a whole lot of Thanksgiving cocktails other than people drinking wine and some beer at home while watching a football game.
And nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
But we thought maybe there's a concoction that you could come up with that people could share on Thanksgiving, and you can make it as a cocktail or a mocktail.
Absolutely.
You've done this.
Yes.
And what's it called?
We call it our Fall Mule.
Fall Mule.
Yep.
And you're going to show us how to make that now?
Yes, absolutely.
Let's go on
All right.
inside.
Sounds good.
So we're talking about Thanksgiving, and the day before Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving Eve, is that still a big day for pubs?
Yeah, it's still a really big day. It's basically like a really busy Friday or Saturday night on a Wednesday.
So Billy, in all the years I've known you, I think this is the first time I've been behind the bar with you.
Yep.
Do you trust me back here?
Well.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. So show us the special Thanksgiving cocktail you've come up with for us.
Sure. Well, we're doing the Fall Mule, and we take a standard mule cup, and then we do 2 ounces of our Proper 12 Irish whiskey, Irish apple whiskey.
So is that Irish whiskey with an apple flavor?
Yes.
I catch on
Yep,
quickly.
Yep. And then fill it up with ginger beer soda.
So you got the ginger and the apple.
Yep.
Kind of fall like there, yeah?
Don't fill it all the way up. And then we'll leave a little bit of room for a splash of cranberry juice. Do a quick stir, mix it all together. A couple of straws, and then it's done.
The Fall Mule.
The Fall Mule.
Now, if you're not an imbiber of the potent potables, how would you do this as a mocktail?
Oh, that's pretty much about the same way. Mule cup, fill it with ice, but instead of using the apple whiskey, we'll use just plain apple juice. And you get a couple ounces of that.
This is like for at the kiddie table.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Or for the drivers.
Yeah.
You have more ginger beer soda, and then you top it off with some cranberry juice. Give it a nice stir.
And that's called the Fall Mule also. It's just the Mocktail.
The mocktail version, yes. The non-alcoholic version.
So something everyone can enjoy.
Absolutely.
All righty. Well, thank you. It's a happy Thanksgiving.
Do you want the...
Let's just have a little cheers here, huh?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, sir. Got the straw in my nose, too. Still good. Very good. Thanksgiving in a cup. You know what I'm really thankful for? All those great Thanksgiving stories. I'm really in the mood for the holiday now.
Well, I mean, you are our biggest turkey we've got around,
Thank
so
you.
he's really a big celebrator. But we are both very thankful for our viewers here at WTVP, PBS, and of course, you got to see this. We're going to have a lot of great stories coming up this season and going into next year.
And we'll see you soon on the next episode of
You got to see this.
Sorry.
That's not what
Okay. Is that the Beastie Boys?
Yes. Turkey leg.
Ahoy there, mateys! Here I be atop the pirate float. Lock the blank. Yum.